Hello, this is Matt from Stone Ridge Landscapes. In this video, I'm going to be going over a project we did recently where I needed to model a client's house. This will be more of a walkthrough than a tutorial, meaning I'll explain what I'm doing and what tools I'm using, but I won't go in depth about how every tool works and what it does. I can make other videos on those, but this one's just more of a walkthrough of the process that I go through while making one of these models. So I'm just going to be going over the video and explain what I'm doing as it's happening. So the first thing I do on a new project is I set up the layout of the model. So for this one, I took a satellite image from Google Maps and I started tracing the outline of the house in Sketchup. You can get measurements from Google Maps too, so I made sure that the satellite image was scaled up so that the house was at the right size. I also took my own measurements at the house in person so I could compare it back and forth with the Google measurements. So that's what those lines are at the top. Kind of looks like a ruler. Those are just my measurements. So after getting the layout set up, I took a photo of the house and I imported it into SketchUp so I could use photo match. And photo match is a feature that lets you trace over a photo in like a 3D kind of way. I use photo match to get the general shape of the house and the placement of windows and doors and stuff like that. But after that, it's better to model without using photo match. It's kind of finicky, and sometimes things don't really line up how they're supposed to. But it's a good tool to use to get a model started. Here I'm modeling the roof. Usually roofs are pretty simple because most of the time I only have to model one side of the house, but on this project I had to do the entire house, so I had to get every side of the roof. So it was kind of messy, and this isn't really the process I usually go through, um, but it ended up coming out all right. So I don't really have a technique for this particular part. I was just kind of winging it. I did use the follow me tool to get the edge of the roof. Since the pitch of the roof is different on each side, the edges didn't line up very well. So what I did was I drew the shape I wanted for the edge, and I placed it at the edge of the roof. And then I selected all the lines that make up the perimeter of the roof, and then I used the follow me tool, which is under the tools tab, and that wrapped the shape around the house on the lines that I selected. And then I went through and I smoothed it over. So the next thing I did was I started working on the windows and the doors. To do that, I usually go through photo match and I place rectangles over the spots that the windows and doors are. And I make the rectangles into components so I don't have to model every single window. If all the windows are identical, then I just really need to model one and the other components just become that same window. So right now I'm just going through photo match again and tracing over the shape of the windows to get the design as close as I can. Then I use the push-pull tool to make it 3D. And then I do the same thing for the doors. For the deck railing, I use most of the same tools I've already used so far in this video. And I do use multiply and divide objects so I don't have to place every spindle in post. I also use the follow me tool for the handrail. So at this point I started a new file to photo match the other side of the house. And after I've modeled this side, I went back to the first model and I put the new side onto the original model. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here to get to adding textures. So the parts that I'm skipping are putting the landscape together and building the front porch. The front porch was just using the same tools that I did for the deck pretty much. And I plan on making a different video on making the landscapes, because for this one it was also kind of tedious and it would be hard to explain what exactly I was doing. Now that the model is finished, I need to add textures. This way, when I put the model into a rendering program, I can replace the SketchUp textures with better textures. So the roof will have shingles and the driveway will be made out of asphalt and stuff like that. We use Twinmotion for rendering, so in the next video I'm going to go over what I do in Twinmotion to set up the model and to take pictures of it to get renders. So that's it for now. I hope that this was able to help somebody, and thank you for watching.